even in the beginning, we weren't even getting sales. So until we found our marketing channel TikTok and going on Shark Tank, like until then, nobody wanted the product. We had to prove that it was a product that people needed. It's like you kind of think to yourself, why have I been drinking for the last 20 years and now I need this nightcap on my drink? It's because nobody talked about drink spiking before. And a lot of victims of drink spiking kept quiet. People were embarrassed to talk about it. It wasn't something that was talked about. Like, I think what kept us on track was just the purpose and the mission behind it. It was like, we know that like someone out there is going to benefit from this, even if nobody wants it right now. That's going to change, and we're going to help protect people because this is a real problem.
Welcome to another episode of The Rooted Founder. I have on today my youngest guest ever, and we happen to have a few things in common, so I'm excited about that. She was on Shark Tank at, 16 or 17 years old?
17, yes, yeah.
17, got a deal with Lori, and I am excited just to talk to her about the journey of entrepreneurship at a young age, the things that she's learned, how she's navigated it, and anything else that comes up, just as we do with all of the guests, having natural conversation. So, Shirah, I'm super excited that you're here.
Thank you so much for having me. I am really excited to talk with you and share more about Nightcap and my story, and yeah.
So let's start with Nightcap, because you were on Shark Tank, super young, and this idea came to you in a dream, which I think is such a testament to kind of the feminine energy of really being in tune with our subconscious. So talk to me about how the idea came to you and the courageous journey you went on to even get on Shark Tank.
Yeah, so when I was 16, I was, going to high school. I had a friend, an older college friend that was roofied at the bar. And a couple weeks later, I went to bed one night and I thought of this idea in my sleep when I was dreaming. And I woke up the next morning and I sat down with my dad. And instead of trying to tell him exactly what it was, I ran upstairs and went through my mom's closet, found one of her stockings and an old scrunchie from my room. And I kind of tore them up, taped them together, and kind of just created this little prototype to show him what I was thinking in my head. And I don't come from a family of entrepreneurs. Like, we had no idea what was going on. I just, thought, wow, this is actually, I think this could save a lot of lives. And so we just started taking like those first couple steps to get it off the ground, like found a patent attorney, found a seamstress to create some more prototypes, a graphic designer. My dad was immediately like, it's either Nightcap or Top Hat. So we went with Nightcap, of course. And from there, my brother came home. He was going to Florida State University. He's 5 years older than I am. And he knew how big the problem was on his college campus. So he dropped pretty much everything to just work with me on it. And we've been co-founders for the past 5 years now. He is more so on like the operations side. I'm on like the marketing and sales side. And we work really well together. We kind of just like are really good at different things. And I think that's why it works. But yeah, Shark Tank was super cool. We applied in 2020. I was 17 and he was like 22, I think. So we applied online and then they just call you back a couple times. I think there's like 40,000 applicants and they call you back once and then twice. And then, they narrow it down to like 100 people. And so that process was crazy because we had to go and quarantine in Las Vegas and sit in a hotel room for literally 10 days. Wake up, they would like deliver breakfast, lunch and dinner. And then we would like work out on one side of the room and like pitch on the other side. And my dad got to come with us because I was a minor. So we needed supervision. So it was all like, we made it as fun as it could get. I think like everyone's like, oh, were you scared for Shark Tank? Like, of course, but it's also like one of those moments that, you also want to cherish because it's only going to happen probably one time. So it's one of those things where you're like, I want to kind of enjoy this. So let me take the nerves and make them just excitement. So yeah, we got to deal with Lori.
So Okay. The journey for you, first of all, family business. I have come from family business. Sometimes that can be so amazing, and sometimes it can be really challenging. What has surprised you about working with your brother?
So many things. Well, I think what surprised me is the fact that we work so well together, because when we were kids, I was the annoying little sister that was like standing in front of the TV trying to get all of his attention, like doing whatever I could do to just bother him. And then they're like, we eventually end up, start like just working together. And I'm like, okay, is this gonna work out? And I think, we were in that age gap for like pretty much our whole lives, where like I was in high school while he was in college. So we didn't really live at the house together for that long, I feel like. And when he got out of college, I feel like I was an only child. So we weren't as close. And now like we're best friends. Like we talk every single day. We communicate literally everything. And I think something that's interesting is just getting to know like how your sibling works or how your family works in a business professional way. And it's super important to know that, because a lot of times I have to check in and I'm like, what did you not tell me this month? Because I know there's something. Like I know, like you have to know their patterns and just double check on them, because when you know, you know.
Mm-hmm. I have found in like my family businesses and stuff, the level of trust you have with your significant other, your mom or dad, or your siblings is so much greater. So then when you move it into the work world, it's like you can pick up on things that maybe you wouldn't pick up on if it wasn't your family. And then to your point, you kind of like, hey, let's have this conversation, because we're not going to brush it under the rug. So when you were on this journey of building it and who you've become, how have you changed as a person?
In so many ways. I feel like I always had the factor of like being committed to something. Like if I had my mindset on something, I was going to do it. I've always had that, but I've never had the confidence of showing up as a CEO and being like this business owner. And I feel like I've been talking a lot about this recently, because people ask me like, how do you make it look so easy? Or like how they say stuff like that. And I'm like, it's never been easy. Like you always have to put yourself in very awkward situations to come out on the other side like a little more confident. And when I was 16 starting this company, I knew absolutely nothing. My classmates were like, what are you doing? My parents told me not to drop out of college when I did. And so like people were always going against like what I wanted to do, and it almost made me want to do things more. And I think just kind of like doing those certain things and like proving them to myself that I could do it, I would gain more and more confidence. But when I started the company, I was never like ready to hop on the phone with someone or send my own emails. I was always second guessing myself, and I was never able to just like walk up to someone, talk to them, pitch my company. I never looked at myself as like I'm worthy of this or I deserve this. And I think as you grow as a person, it helps in business. And the more you prove these things to yourself that you can do them, like the more confident you become.
So I can totally relate to having to overcome the internal hurdle of like, am I good enough? Am I worthy? Will people believe in me? Am I too young? I'm a girl. Like all the self-talk. I also can relate to, if you tell me I can't do it, I'm going to do it. So like that gives me oomph. Where did that come from for you?
I think it came from, and I hate to say this, but I feel like it came from like being in school and having teachers just do things ways that I've just always been a problem solver, and I've always seen teachers or like my classmates take the route that never made sense to me. And so I feel like when I was in school, I sat there and I just knew that like, I just saw the bigger picture. And like, I was like, why are we sitting in these subjects that don't matter? We're wasting time on things like, you'd have classes certain days of the week that like you just kind of sit there. It's like, why are we doing this? And so I always kind of like, I always was one step ahead, I feel like, and just kind of saw things in that way. And I guess it was just kind of in me from when I was a little girl, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like for me, sometimes sports initiated it for me, team sports, like the desire to win. Also, what you're talking to a little bit is like visionary capabilities, the ability to see the bigger picture, the broader impact in the more efficient way to get there. Um, I wouldn't have been able to sit through school. Like I did the independent studies and accelerated it because same thing. I'm like, this is not making sense, y'all.
Yeah. But what I did like about school was the social aspect, like meeting so many people and talking to everyone and connecting, like my classmates being like, oh, this is this person. And, so I always was really good at that. But when it came to class, I just wanted to always go against what the rules were. And I feel like that's a lot about entrepreneurship. You're not following the typical rules and you're just kind of going against what everyone else is telling you to do. And yeah.
And that takes so much grit and courage and, in a way, self-confidence and self-belief. So I know that there's a lot of people who didn't believe in this initially. And then you had to keep going to find people who did. How did you within yourself continue the path? And then how did you pick yourself back up when somebody said, nope, that's not going to work, it's a dumb idea?
Yeah, there was a lot of people who said that in the beginning, especially as a high school student. Like, your friends don't want you, doing something that's not or like the normal path. So I would come to school and be like, hey guys, I have this idea. And they were confused. They didn't really like it. Some people support you, some people don't. But I think even in the beginning, we weren't even getting sales. So until we found our marketing channel TikTok and going on Shark Tank, like until then, nobody wanted the product. We had to prove that it was a product that people needed. It's like you kind of think to yourself, why have I been drinking for the last 20 years and now I need this nightcap on my drink? It's because nobody talked about drink spiking before. And a lot of victims of drink spiking kept quiet. People were embarrassed to talk about it. It wasn't something that was talked about. So now that it's like this big thing on social media, which I feel like we've helped a lot bring conversation to the problem, people have been sharing their stories and people are realizing that it's a real problem. And I don't know if you know this, but what we found on social media is that the most common person that people have been spiked by is someone that they know. So, just kind of figuring these things out is crazy to us. But I think that before we were marketing this product and talking about drink spiking, everyone kept quiet. So people didn't think that this problem actually existed. And now that we know it exists and now that people are talking about it, people aren't afraid to take safety into their own hands and protect themselves because it's a huge problem. And, we've sold 700,000 scrunchies that just cover your drink at the bar, a little simple, easy, convenient solution. And it's crazy. Like, nobody wanted this thing in the beginning, and now it's in 40 different countries, 170 campuses. It's crazy. So I hope at the end of the day that we're saving someone's life or making someone feel more comfortable when going out. And I think that's what really kept me going, my brother going. Like, I think what kept us on track was just the purpose and the mission behind it. It was like, we know that like someone out there is going to benefit from this, even if nobody wants it right now. That's going to change, and we're going to help protect people because this is a real problem.
Why do you think people didn't want to talk about it?
So many reasons. Usually when people are spiked, they feel embarrassed. They feel like it was their fault. They're ashamed. People that they talk to about it don't believe them. They're just accused of drinking too much. And like, even when people are roofied at the bars now, the bouncers are throwing them out and they just are like, they're too drunk. Nobody's helping them. Even when you get to the hospital, you're not getting a test to see if you've been drugged. There are so many things in the process that are flawed that nobody's helping these victims. So I totally understand where they're coming from and why they feel ashamed. It's like that with most of these crimes. So it goes unreported, and that's why we think it's never going to happen to us, because we don't think the problem exists.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll share 10 years ago, I was spiked. And thankfully, I was with people that were really, really good friends of mine. And they made sure I got home, and I woke up the next day, like, what even happened? Not even aware. And the people I was with are people that have been on this podcast. And they're like, I've seen you drink. You're not a big drinker. I've never seen you like that. And I'm like, I've never been like that. So it is something that I don't think you like publicize and you share. And it's something that is a little bit disorienting and confusing when it happens, because you weren't really in the wrong place at the wrong time. You were doing something completely reasonable. So I appreciate that you are bringing awareness to it. And you could have water in your drink and be at a pool in Las Vegas that's totally normal to do, or a pool at your friend's house, and it could still happen.
Exactly. And we try to educate people on that too. Like, it can be water, it can be a beer bottle, just because the can is a small, like, hole or opening, like, it's still possible. And even if you do use products like Nightcap, you should never leave your drink unattended, because people will be like, oh, this is perfect for when I go to the bathroom. And I'm like, actually, no. Or, if I'm even talking to people in my personal life and I talk about drink spiking and the product, they're like, well, I'm not your age, and I'm not a young girl like you, so it's not going to happen to me. I'm like, that's where you're wrong. A lot of this stuff also happens to men as well. Like, in Atlanta, there's a huge problem where these men are being targeted for their nice clothes, their nice watch, their shoes. And they spike these men to get into their bank accounts or use their Face ID to take literally everything they have. So it's not just young females anymore. It's literally everyone, and everyone needs to be careful.
Yeah. Wow. This is eye-opening to me, because I had no idea this was as prevalent as it is, or is becoming. As you're going through this journey, you're becoming the CEO, or you are the CEO, you're evolving as a leader. What do you want to most be known for?
That's such a good question. I really think that I just want to be someone that is there for victims, someone that helps victims in a way that nobody else does, because I feel like most, like I said earlier, bouncers are kicking these people out, or people aren't believing them. Like, I want to be, as a person and also as a brand, just like that safe space for people to go to, because honestly, the amount of feedback and comments that we get and the stories that we get are so scary and so unacceptable that it's unfair that there's nowhere for these victims to talk about it. Like, they just need resources, and they just need, like, a space and a platform to either share or connect with other people. So that's kind of what we're trying to create. And that's really what I want to be known for. I feel like there's so many things that I want to do still to, grow Nightcap, and I want to get in more hands of students, because I know how dangerous college campuses can be, and just like help bring safety to more people everywhere.
What I'm hearing you say is that you're an advocate for people who can't speak up for themselves. Mm-hmm. And in this season of your life, you're doing it with Nightcap. Mm-hmm. But maybe if you exit Nightcap, or you start another company, or you decide you want to help orphans or stray dogs, or, you could, anyone who can't speak up for themselves, that is an archetype for you. Yeah. Is, I want to advocate. I love that.
Thank you.
It's near and dear to my heart too.
Thank you. And stray dogs are definitely on the list. Yes. I love dogs and animals.
Yeah. I know y'all, do you journal?
Yeah, of course. Do you?
Okay. Yeah. I've been journaling since my grandmother gave me my first journal in 1998. And I have kept every single one, and I have hundreds of journals, and it's such a fascinating process, especially, starting young. We both started young. to see how I've evolved as a person, things that I worried about in my first business that I'm not worried about in my 10th business, it's kind of cool to see how you evolve as a person. And one of the things that I've appreciated the most is, it's a saying I say to myself, but I have the right to change my mind. And we have a way of operating that gets us a certain level of success or outcomes. And then when we reach that peak, we're allowed to change our mind and decide that we have a different vision or more evolved goals or integrated goals and climb different mountains. And that has been a very cool journey for myself.
That is so awesome. Do you journal every single day?
I do.
Wow. In the morning?
I do. I wake up first thing in the morning and I grab my journal, and I'm a dreamer. So anything that comes through at night, I write it out. Sometimes they're like, oh my gosh, this is an amazing idea. Or sometimes it's like, oh, I feel really unsettled about this thing. I want to process my emotions around it so I can just be more grounded and rooted. And then every night I ask myself, what will be fun tomorrow? Because sometimes when you're building businesses, you get into the doing a lot and you're constantly going from meeting to meeting, podcast to podcast, and sometimes you get disconnected from yourself. So at night, and like I reflect on the day, I have something called wins and worries, like what were my wins for the day and what am I worried about? And then planning tomorrow, I'll say, what will be fun for me tomorrow? Who can I build trust with? And what do I need to get done in the next 72 hours just to close my mental tabs? That has been helpful. Maybe you can relate to this, and I'm curious what your process is, but when you have businesses and you have employees and you have, people pulling at you all the time, I feel like I have so many tabs open in my brain, like the computer. And sometimes going to bed can be hard because I'm like, okay, I got to close that tab and that tab and that tab, just to be able to get back in my body and be a human being. So how do you do that within yourself? Because you have a lot of demands on you.
Yeah, I think I can't operate as a business owner if I'm stressed or if I'm anxious. So I take my mental health super seriously. It's number one. If I'm feeling down or upset or just anxious in general, which can happen a lot, I go to yoga, I work out, I go for walks, I play with my dog. It's usually more like coming back to just myself. Like I will probably not hang around people as much, maybe go visit my family because they ground me, but it's a lot of just like journaling and doing things for myself, sweating it out and breathing and knowing that like it's going to be okay, because that, for me, if I don't get that part done, I can't show up in my business correct. So I think that's number one. And so important. I feel privileged to say that though, because not everyone can take the time and like go to a yoga class in the middle of the day. But, as a business owner, sometimes you just need it.
Yes, I do all of those things too. Play with a dog, go in nature, time away from your screen. Just like close the computer, close your phone, leave it. That helps so much.
Such a huge one, especially like being in social media, marketing on there all day long. It's so easy to just scroll. And I have tried my best to consume less, create more, and, cut out the distractions of what you're consuming, like follow more female entrepreneurs or like motivational quotes instead of the content that can make you feel like you're not doing enough. And I always also want to be authentic as well, because I know there's people out there that, aspire to do what we're doing. And so I try to be as real as possible and just kind of give them what's really happening, what's going on. But yeah, I think it's super important finding what is the cause of making you anxious or stressed and trying to cut that out as much as you can, if you can.
Yeah. When you talk about just there's a lot of people who are wanting to start businesses and pursue the entrepreneurial route, and you have a lot of people who are beating them into their heads, like work harder, do more, grit it out. And then you have other people who are more flowy and just let it manifest and come to you. How do you, what do you say to people who are like, I have an idea, I want to start a business, what should I do?
I say that the first step is just starting and putting your, just going for it, because we all get wrapped up in this idea that it has to be perfect. And when I look at Nightcap 5 years ago, it is a completely different business, totally different founders. We are just not the same people. And we've grown so much. And I think that's the best part about Nightcap, because you learn so much along the way. And we have literally done trial and error the entire time. And we are going to do that for the next 10 years too. So it's so important to just start. And I always say, if you go to college and you studied business for the last 5 years and you get out of college and you are confused on why don't I know how to start this business? Did I forget something? It's more so it's never a lack of education. I think it's a lack of experience. And when you get out of college, you're going to have to just start the business, because you don't know what you're doing because you've never done it before. Maybe bits and pieces that'll help you along the way, but you have to fully just jump in the pool and start swimming, because I think that's just how life works. And that's what we've been doing for the last 5 years. So, trial and error.
That's what I've done for 22 years.
Yeah, exactly. And I think too, embracing the fact that nobody knows anything. We all aren't given this brochure, and I think we all take the people that we want to be like and we put them on this pedestal. And we look at the sharks on Shark Tank and we're like, oh, they're the most intimidating people in the world, and they know everything, they know it all, but they also started somewhere, and they know that. They know that we all don't know everything. I think just embracing that it's okay to learn and not be born with all the knowledge, because nobody is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think one of the things that I value most about my upbringing and my wiring is my love of learning. And I think that has helped carry me through, because you don't know anything. And even the more you achieve, the more you don't know. There's so much more to learn. And if I was to take all my business experience and start, I don't know, a supply chain business or some type of business that I've never had any involvement in, I would feel like a beginner again too. And to your point, just keep taking that next aligned action. And then over time, the path starts unfolding. People start showing up that you could have never predicted would have shown up. And you start learning. And then that's where you can integrate it into something that is revenue generating, operational efficiency, metrics, all of that ends up being a real business.
Yeah, I love that. Also, same, if you threw me into a completely different business, I would be like, whoa, let's start from square one.
Right. Yeah. There's some fundamentals and frameworks, just the physical body, eat right, exercise, all of that. There's some things, you need sales, you need operations, you need accounting. There's some fundamentals, but there's so much that we still have to learn. On your journey, what has been one of the obstacles that you've encountered that totally surprised you, knocked you off, was oh, I did not see that coming?
One of the obstacles, I would say, has honestly just been myself.
That's the best answer ever.
It's true. I think just getting in my own way and thinking that I am not capable of doing certain things, when in reality, that's all self-sabotage, and everything that, how do I say this? For example, I'll give you a story. So one of my favorite stories to tell is when I was at a conference last March. It was a retail conference, and the CEO of Forever 21 was speaking on a panel. and she did an amazing job. And I noticed that she kind of just like walked off the stage and was kind of standing there. And I was like, that's so weird. Like, why are these high caliber people just like standing around? So I chose to get up and go over and like say hello, which is not something that I normally do. That's pretty intimidating. I thought it would be really scary, so I kind of did it anyway. And I was like, you did such an amazing job up there. Like, here's this is a nightcap, it's a scrunchie, and it doubles as a drink cover. And immediately she said, like, let's get this in the stores. And so, that one conversation like has changed literally everything for me, just knowing that you can do it. Essentially, it's that simple, as you can do it and you should do it. And a lot of times I think I've psyched myself out from opportunities because I've gotten in my own way and I didn't think maybe I wasn't dressed the part, or maybe I think I couldn't like communicate well and I just didn't say anything. So I think a lot of the times we need to ignore like that voice in our head and just go for it and look at more so the outcome of what could happen. Because now we're in all 400 Forever 21 stores just because of one conversation. And imagine if I didn't do that, and it was so easy for me to turn around and go, oh, never mind. That's really too scary for me. I'm good. But yeah, myself, I've definitely gotten in my own way for so many things. So.
Oh, I love this so much because I say that entrepreneurship is just an accelerated human journey. So we all have to evolve as a human and build grit and character and overcome fear in order to build the life we want. Entrepreneurship just puts so much pressure on you and it makes you do it faster. And this is why you sound so much more wise beyond your years, which people told me when I was young too, is because you're in this container that is putting so much pressure on you, and you either will crumble or you'll rise to the occasion. And for myself, what I had created was this acronym called AND, and it's like alert, notice, discern. So you are sitting there, right? And you had this alert like, hey, Forever 21 CEO is sitting over there. Nobody's acknowledging her. So you take notice of that. And then you had to discern, am I going to sit here and let fear keep me sitting? Or am I going to have faith that this is like an opportunity, a door opening for me, a little glimmer that I get to walk through? And then you chose to choose faith instead of fear and get up. And then it ends up with 400 stores. And it's just those simple actions that anybody could do.
Anybody could do it. Anybody could do it. And I always hate leaving a situation or an event or a person with regret. I think that's the worst feeling. It makes me sick. Like, I hate it. I'm like, the way that I think when I leave an event of what could that have been is the worst feeling. And I think even if you were to take that step and have that conversation, I'd rather be embarrassed or whatever you want to call it than feel regret. So always take the leap. Why not?
Yeah. I think what you're saying too is that in your own personal life, and I can attest to this in mine, is that the things that I regret are the things I didn't do, not the things that I did do that failed or messed up or I fell on my face and embarrassed myself. I don't really regret those as much as the woulda, coulda, shouldas.
Yeah, 1000%. And same goes for like right now, Michael and I are super focused on like changing laws around drink spiking. And when we were in Boston last year, we had to sit down with a bunch of like legislators and senators, and like that made me so uncomfortable. But it's things like that where if you're on a mission and you see the outcome, you see the vision, you know what you want on the other side, like those are the things you have to do.
I think that's huge too. What you just said is your mission has to be greater than your fear.
Yeah.
And you and Michael made it that. Like, we are going to push through every brick wall, every obstacle, everything, because we believe that there's a world where drinks are not getting spiked. And we're going to do whatever it takes to make that happen.
And it will. So stay tuned.
Yes. I will be cheering for you. Yes. What does success mean to you?
Success means freedom, I would say. Freedom and happiness and peace. I think peace is the ultimate. version of success. Just knowing that, you can be physically and mentally at peace and have flexibility to create and with a purpose. So what does it mean to you? I would love to know what you think about it.
Inner congruence, which is very similar to peace. So freedom is my highest value, as you just said. And I think I say we can win eyes open and eyes closed. You can have eyes open freedom, which means you can do what you want, when you want, with whom you want. You have time freedom, money freedom, geographic freedom. A lot of times people pursue that at the expense of their eyes closed freedoms. Joy, love, peace, connection. And so I love seeing you value, especially the younger generation, value the inner peace that you're creating and not sacrificing that to also win big, eyes open. And we're proving that you can have both. You can have massive success in business and inner peace at the same time. They can coexist. And that's really my crusade. So I appreciate you coming on here and being a model for that.
Oh, I'm so excited. And I hope that I hope that helps someone out there. I think I realized that at a young age because I've seen the opposite and I felt the opposite. And I think a lot of that feeling comes from just drama, unnecessary drama, and the way that that's made me feel in the past with just crippling anxiety throughout my days. Like I can't even focus. So I know how that feels. So I think, the other side of that is peace. And I've felt peace and it feels pretty nice. So I can't.
I'm not going to trade it for the world.
Yeah, seriously.
You clearly have a lot of self-awareness. How did you feel like you got there?
Oh man, that's a good question. I think just paying attention to people around me and observing how people react to what I'm saying, what other people are saying, and just trying to be like a kind person. I think we lack that a lot. And, if you give someone a compliment, it could be the only compliment they've gotten all day because I feel like there's not enough of that anymore. So I really obviously enjoy making people like smile, laugh. I think that's just like something I like to do. So I don't do the opposite. Like I'm not out here to, make people upset or angry or anything like that. So I try to just kind of follow that, and not in a people pleasing way, but like what's going to make people feel good. And if I'm not in a good headspace, I'm not going to go out socializing because, we're just projecting all the time. So if you're someone in a bad headspace, like maybe take some time alone and put that journal out. But I think, just know yourself and like when you should be interacting with other people or just kind of sitting with yourself and trying to figure your own stuff out.
Yeah, which is that self-awareness. Like, hey, I'm kind of not vibing high right now, so I'm not going to go get on other people. I'm going to get my energy right before I engage.
Energy.
Yeah. So you mentioned earlier that you were focusing on more being a creator than a consumer, which I love. So what are some of the creative outlets you have that are on the horizon for you right now?
So my newest creation has been this kind of video that I have been making when I go out with my friends. And I take a bag of candy out with me and I go around and I put little candies in my friends' drinks. And I will clip this up, edit it really well so people think it's like really real. When like, there's a little bit of staging going on, but the editing that I do makes it look really real. Like I'm zooming in and I'm zooming out. And I love editing videos and just like creating them. And literally, I feel like going viral is almost an addiction at this point because I love it. I think it's great. Like, and I also love it when I'm spreading a message too, so it's super cool to see. Like our recent video has like 15 million views on Reels, and thousands and thousands of comments, and there's at least like 500,000 shares. So when 500,000 people are sharing, it's resonating. And so
Yes.
I am actually enjoying this because I get to go out with my friends, I get to put little candies in their drinks, and I get to have fun with it, like film it, edit it all, and then I'm sending a message out to all these people like, you need to be careful, this is happening, and try reading the comments and seeing what is really going on in the world. So that's my recent creation. I love just making content. I think it's so fun and connecting with our customers. But I also have been like working on a podcast that I'm doing, and like connecting with people, female entrepreneurs, and trying to just like get insight like how we're doing right now and get it in the ears of the right people. So I don't know. I love creating. I think it's, if you think you have a purpose and a mission, someone out there definitely wants to hear what you're saying. And I hope that no one thinks differently, because in the beginning I was like, why would anyone want to hear what I'm saying? Or my take is probably the same as someone else's. They don't need another one of me out there, but we're all different, and somebody out there is going to resonate with us. So, it's really the simple stuff that people want to see, and they just want to connect with you as a founder, which has been really special. And it's just such a cool time to start a business and be able to do things like that.
Yes, I can echo that too. I've had my own self-belief or limiting belief that, well, everybody can talk like this and people are already doing it. What's so special about me? But it is the nuance of my own personal journey, just like your own personal journey, and people do resonate with you. And they may also resonate with someone else, just like we do. I don't only listen to one podcast, and I don't only eat one meal. Like, I have variety, and I think that we give people variety as well. So I appreciate everything that you're doing. I think it's amazing. If I can ever be of any support to you, I'd be happy to. I'm an advocate also for people who struggle to have a voice for themselves, and I'm passionate about normalizing the entrepreneurial journey and really empowering the self-awareness and the mental health while you're also building and scaling your businesses and helping people do both. And I just see you doing it, and I'm just applaud you. I have so much respect for you. And I see you doing amazing things to help bring awareness to not just drink spiking, but everything else that you find in your life on your journey that you say, hey, this is not right, and I want to do something about it. So I admire that in you.
Thank you so much. And I can't wait to catch with you more and just hang out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, thank you everyone for tuning in. I hope for all of the young entrepreneurs out there that this really inspires your heart to get off of your screens, get out into the real world, into life, connect with people, see what you can create to add value, and then have the courage to go make it happen through trial and error. And if you fall, you can DM Shirah or me and be like, I fell down, and we'll be like, yay, good job, now get back up and keep going. So I hope this encourages everybody, and remember to stay rooted while you get shit done. Cheers, y'all.